Well, a very good evening to you. Thanks for clicking on to today's edition of VOGAN'S Views on the USA. And here is the warm temperatures that were seen yesterday. Record-breaking highs, in fact, across the Intermountain West. We've seen a temperature right up to 77 in Boise, Idaho. 81 degrees in Salt Lake City. That was a record. And you notice here the extent of the warmth all the way up into eastern Washington and Oregon. We've seen even a 63 in Seattle yesterday. So very warm, 90s across the Phoenix area, 95 in Laughlin, Nevada. And of course the warmth extends summer-like heat across the southern plains through the southeast as well. But of course the drought areas continue to linger anywhere from basically central and north Florida all the way up the eastern coast, and we're seeing problems with fires even today across the Meadowlands area of New Jersey as well. So the situation continues to be pretty poor across these areas despite the cooler conditions and the breezy conditions. It's the dry air that's causing a lot of problems across the New Jersey area with those fires. But it was certainly a chilly morning, that's for sure. Here is the low temperatures off the Weather Channel as well. 19 in International Falls, 15 degrees in Fargo, 27 in Minneapolis. So certainly cold conditions, something we haven't seen for quite some time across this part of the country. Let's have a quick look at the current temperatures, and you notice here the conditions, if I can find it here. Just bear with me a second, and you'll notice here the warm conditions once again across Texas. 83 in Houston, 80 in Dallas, and the temperatures are somewhat getting squashed, especially across parts of California down through the desert southwest. Why is that the case? Well, we've got that storm system pushing into California, bringing rain. The San Francisco Bay Area seeing a decent rainfall, and that rain will extend through the later evening hours and into the overnight, down through the greater LA basin, down through San Diego as well. And we're going to be seeing some rain showers, but it certainly looks as if it's going to be hit and miss. Those showers will come during the overnight hours and into Thursday morning. So not a big deal really, but you notice here the heights are starting to lower across the Rocky Mountain states, and that is simply because that trough is now starting to slide into the west coast. It's taking its time, but it's doing so now. As for severe weather, well, we've got a narrow corridor of severe weather potential today. We've got a dry line set up just on the western flank of Texas up into Oklahoma as well. We've also got a boundary, an occluded front sitting basically draped from northwest to southeast, and that could send some moisture, some warmth up, and against the contrast between the cool over the Midwest, the warmth over Texas, watch out for some storms that fire up. Certainly not going to be a big severe weather day, that's for sure. We could see the odd tornado here and there across the panhandles of Texas and Oklahoma. But certainly you also notice here off the ECMWF, you've got that trough, much cooler air anywhere from the upper Midwest down through the Ohio Valley and into the Mid-Atlantic region as well. But what I'm going to point out to you is, once I skip to Thursday, you notice here something. The trough's starting to dig in. We've also got the storm system itself that has brought the weather across the west coast. That's going to start to push its way into the central Rocky region. What that will do is it's going to not only overrun some colder air across the southern plains, and of course ride up over top of the warmer air, but as well as that, we've got the low-level jet going to start to interact. It's going to pump warmth, moisture off the Gulf of Mexico. And of course, when you've got an upper-level jet stream starting to enter the fray, so to speak, the environment becomes much more conducive for severe thunderstorm potential. So really, today, not a big deal. Tomorrow it looks as if we've got a bigger chance of some bigger thunderstorms, severe thunderstorms. You've got that jet stream in the upper levels. You've got the low-level jet, especially at night time. And as well as that, once you've got those temperatures rising into the 80s, colder in the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere, you've got that perfect environment here. You've got turning of winds with height, and that, of course, can turn regular thunderstorms that are fired up in this unstable environment. But you've got those terminal winds that produce the supercell thunderstorms. They start to rotate with those altering winds with height. You notice here the trough well over the eastern seaboard. You've got even some freeze watches across even North Georgia. We've got a very, very chilly air mass. The dryness of the air, the cool daytime highs down into the 60s across parts of Georgia as compared to the 80s that we're seeing today and of late. But certainly when you've got a very dry air mass in place, courtesy of that drought, therefore with clear skies at night, light winds and the dry air, that of course can send any warmth by daytime back up into space. Radiational coolness called, and we could be seeing some temperatures at or slightly below freezing. So frosty conditions are possible through Tennessee, the Piedmont of the Carolinas, and as well as that in the North Georgia, should I say. But the severe weather potential definitely does increase as we enter Thursday. By Friday, what's going to take place? We've got a storm system, a secondary storm system pushing into the west coast. That actually looks as if it's going to be a bigger rain producer for California as compared to the one we've just seen over the past 12 to 24 hours. That will send rain, heavy rain across much of California. Snow levels will actually be quite low. They will eventually start to drop off to around 4,500 feet. That's pretty low for this time of year. So certainly if you're crossing, Cajun Summit, the Grapevine, folks, you could be talking about a few inches of snow. Wind-driven snow could certainly greatly hamper visibility, and you're going to be seeing some pretty messy conditions all the way through the LA Basin, through San Diego. Much cooler temperatures as well. So 70 yesterday, could be looking at temperatures in the 60s today, but certainly by Friday, it looks as if the temperatures around the LA, San Diego area will be down in the 50s, so pretty chilly indeed. Certainly up across some of the ski resorts, we're going to be talking in the Sierra Nevada, several feet of snow, and even down by Big Bear, wouldn't surprise me, 8 to 12 inches of snow at Big Bear Resort in the San Bernardino Mountains. So certainly we've got plenty of active weather across the west, but what I'm most concerned about is by Friday we've got plenty of energy, we've got that much colder air starting to push its way in, warmth at the surface, the jet stream, low level jet, you've got turning with winds. That expansive region is starting to grow larger for severe weather. The severe weather potential tomorrow will be across basically the southern plains. That will extend into the Arklatex region on Friday, and it actually could push its way up towards Iowa, Illinois, Missouri. So even the Midwest region is going to start to see the potential for severe weather, and certainly a greater chance of tornadoes as well. So certainly be careful with that and be mindful of that. But certainly by Friday into Saturday, there's things taking place here. Gone is that trough. So the conditions are going to start to moderate. Severe weather potential stretches anywhere from Texas all the way up into the Ohio Valley potentially. We've also got the correct environment as well for even some severe weather potential across the mid-south region. So you're talking about Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. You folks could be looking at severe weather by the weekend, and a pretty big tornado outbreak is possible as of this time. Look at the upper level low across the Four Corners region. That is a much cooler conditions across all of the west. Very stormy conditions, very interesting setup across the desert southwest by this upcoming weekend. But you notice here the warmth starting to get projected, going into the 40s and 50s across places like Minneapolis, Chicago. You're rising back up into the 70s again. But what I'm interested in seeing is, folks, the very ridge of high pressure that produced the 81 degrees yesterday in Salt Lake City will be on the eastern seaboard by next week. Check this out. This is by Monday. Bear in mind we've got very dry soils all the way up through the mid-Atlantic and northeast. What could we be talking about? We could be talking about temperatures into the upper 80s if not the low 90s from DC up to New York City by early next week. We could be looking at the first 90-degree readings of the year next week. So keep checking back. Let's see how that goes. Check out how cooler air is across the central northern plains, across the west, and also notice here, folks, the ridge starting to build back into the southwest again. By Monday into Tuesday, you notice that the warming starting to rebound, going as the trough. Let's keep an eye on this system here. Maybe in about 8 or 9 days from now, we could be seeing that system pushing back into the California coast as well. It's a very interesting setup, folks. Keep checking back. This is by Tuesday as well. Check out the warmth up the I-95 corridor by next Tuesday. Certainly, I think 90s is very possible up the I-95 corridor by early and mid next week. Hope you have a great evening, folks, and bye for now.